Hey traders and welcome. This is going to be a quick one I'm going to show you a market scoring system that it really is effective if you trade properly. And what it entails of really is about how to pair currencies together. Now, a lot of traders will just trade like Euro USD or GBP JPY, but that doesn't give you an understanding of the broader market in currency. So let me just show you here. Now, this is a chart. It's a custom chart here, and this is a chart of the US dollar. Now, you do have the US dollar index, but the US dollar index is heavily saturated by the euro. Therefore, it doesn't make it a good chart for trading because, again, if you look at the US dollar index, it's like 56.4% euro. So therefore, you don't really get a representation of how the currency is performing. So if we look at this chart here, again, these two lines here, this is the daily chart, and this is a 50 period moving average and a 20 period moving average. Now, you just have to think about it. If price is above the 20 and above the 50, then it's bullish over the last month and over the last quarter. Price has been bullish. It's quite simple. If it's been below, then currently it's bearish. You can look at market structure, higher highs and higher lows, and that gives you a good understanding. I mean, right here is a great understanding. You can see the price, it comes above, it retests it. This is the 50 period moving average here. It comes up and then it bounces up and down on the 20. This is why these indicators, in my opinion, and a lot of institutional professionals are the best because the 20 it captures a month and the 50 is a quarter. So you really get an understanding, just like a stock, that how a currency is doing. So if we then take a look at the Japanese yen, for example, so this is the Japanese yen. And as you can see here, since the 9th of October, the 6th of October here, even up here, the Japanese yen, it's just been in free fall. So this is why I kind of wanted to go through this. And I'm just going to pick these two, really. These two. And I'm going to go through it from the 10th. Let's have a look at it from like even the 9th of October here. You can see that the dollar was an uptrend. And from around here, they say the 9th of October here, that the Japanese yen was in a downtrend. So what we're going to do is, for this example, because that's the first thing that you do, is you come and you look at what is the currencies doing. So then what we're going to do quickly is let's just go for a replay. We know based on them two periods that right there and at that moment in time, the prices were above the 20 and the 50 period moving average and below the 50 period moving average on each currency. So what does that tell us? Well, let's have a look. I said around the 9th of October, didn't I? So around here. So now, if we are on a daily chart here, and we are now back at the 9th of October. Great. So, and this is USD JPY. So we've already determined the relative strength of the dollar, and we've already determined that the yen is weak. So this is what you'd be doing in a live trading example, is you'd be looking at one currency and you'd be looking at another currency, and then you would be, this is recording, I hope. Yeah. And then you'd be looking at the pair. Now, a lot of traders miss this because I believe that they're not fully educated. I know that sounds harsh, but if you're not educated in how currency moves and how to track currency, you can't play this game long term, in my opinion. So look, as we can see here, we knew that the dollar was already strong and we knew that the yen was weak. It was above and below the moving averages. So what do we see here? Well, great. So now we got here. Now I remember this. This is why it was quite a good example. So that's the daily chart. So what does the daily chart tell us? Well, again, we're above the 20 and we're above the 50. So we're in bullish structure. But do we want to be buying right here? No, probably not. Absolutely not, to be honest. So if we go down to a 4-hour chart, this is where like the indicators that everyone uses, everyone's going to have their own thing. You have to decide what works for you. But I like looking at the 4-hour chart, and I like looking at the 13 EMA, the parabolic SARS, and the RSI. So let's just say for this example that you missed this, you missed this, or you weren't too sure, you wanted to. Some people would rather wait for a retracement and then get in, So are we going to jump in here? No, probably not. So, but what do we see as so now we're starting to see a bit of a pullback as well. So this is where, great. So let's see if price retests around this level. If we know that if we can get in around here, we know that we could be going for a good continuation to the upside. Now, remember that this is a 4-hour chart. Again, during this period, you'd be looking at your baskets. You wouldn't really be knowing, you'd be looking at your baskets every single day. You know exactly where price is. So, and again, let's just mark this out for this. So that was the high. We know where price, what we're kind of waiting for was waiting for a rejection around this area, ideally. It doesn't mean it just has to. It can continue to the upside. But if it was going to continue to the upside, what I would expect to see is I'd expect to see a nice base here, and I would like to see a breakup. That tells me that there's still plenty of momentum in this to the upside. So again, this is where backtesting is really important. So, and also another tip for you is that these parabolic stars are a really good indicator, especially on a 4-hour chart. So we're still not broken it, but we have come down to this level. Okay, let's see. So we've broken that. Okay, it's rejected. So it's actually rejected around about here. So it's perfect. So as we can see, we got resistance. We come up, we broke through that resistance, and now resistance potentially acts as support. Now, this is a great example because if we look at this on the chart, a good strategy for anyone to know is that if price breaks above the last bearish parabolic SAR, it's a really good signal that price is reversing, especially if it breaks above the parabolic SAR, which in this scenario it has done. So if I was to see this, if this was me trading live, I would come now down to a 1-hour chart. Okay, now to be honest, okay, so what we're seeing here, well, good. Do you want to get into this price action? No, you don't. Because, what we need to really see is we need to see a new pivot point high, and we need to see a new pivot point low, so around here, and then we need to see a continuation to the upside. That is a trend changing move. So, and we did kind of have it there, but let's just have a look at this one. Let's see. So we've made a new low, we made a new high. Now we've made another high. Now, if you were a bit risk averse, you wanted to really make sure, what you could be doing is you could be putting an order in somewhere around up here, with a nice wide stop like that. Now that's a 74 pip stop, but remember this is on the US dollar, Japanese yen. Now I'm doing this just for an example, and the example that I'm trying to show you here is how to look at your baskets, how to, if you don't know how to get your baskets, reach out to me. I've got a free Discord. The link is in the bio. I kind of discuss everything through there on a daily basis. But if you're quite risk averse, this could be quite a wide stop. But let's have a look. What we want to see is now price break that, and then we can continue to the upside. Okay, so we broke it there. Great. And it even retested. So now you'd be in this trade. You wouldn't have got in the trade until you're around here, because you wouldn't be entering the trade until you broke this. That is a trend changing pivot kind of structure, really. If you think about trends, price comes down here. You need a lower high, and then you need a break. And that's what we've got here. We had that break right around that key level here. So we would enter the trade. Now, could we have tightened up our stop just here? Yes, of course. But for the example of this video, we're just going to play it like this. So this is really why I wanted to go through this, because you can see the importance of how to use the baskets. You know what is strong, you know what is weak, and then you have the potential to play this trade all the way to the upside. You don't know how it's going to play out. And again, this is on a 1-hour chart now. So here, now this is where position matters so much, and you also need to accept that when you're in a long-term trade, you need to be confident and comfortable with your strategies, with your alignment, with your bias. If you want to hold this trade, yes, would you have sold up here? Yes, you would have, because you're at a resistance level. Would you have waited for a retracement and then got back into the trade? Yes, absolutely, because your bias is still that the dollar is strong and the yen is weak. And also, if you can look at market structure in terms of, let's see a 12-hour chart here. If you can look at market structure, what do we see here? Well, we came up, we made a new high, a new lower high, and we continue to the upside. So again, you have to look at these things. Now, what a trader might do in this scenario is, well, maybe they come back to a 4-hour chart and they say, well, I'm going to stay in this trade all the way until the 13 EMA is broken through. So you see here, we didn't get that break until over here. Now, the thing is How long you want to be in a trade for, that depends on the trader, but this is just a good understanding of, how the price moves, what to look for, the baskets. And this way you can kind of back test it, because when you're actually trading, you're not just trading one chart. You're trading three. You're trading the pair and you're trading each basket as well. So if you don't know how to get the baskets, join the Discord, reach out, and hopefully this is just a quick video on why it's important to trade relative strength and weakness. So yeah, reach out in the Discord.